Hello champs, welcome to all of you on my Pyarasa channel coding from Mumbai. In this video, I just want to talk about multi-threading in Java part 2. I already created a video about multi-threading, that is part 1 in core Java playlist. If you are not watching that video, so please go and watch that video. After that, you have to watch this video. If you want to clear your concept about multi-threading from basic to advanced, so you have to watch sequence wise these two videos. Understand? So you know that multi-threading is a very important topic in terms of interview as well as in terms of projects. But as well as multi-threading is not a small topic that I'm able to complete all important points about multi-threading in a single video. This is the main reason why I'm going to create part 2 video. Because I did not want to left any important points, any important topic about in multi-threading. Understand? So in this video, I am just want to talk about the some remaining portion that I'm not able to complete into part 1. Okay. So let's start the video and enjoy the video. Hello. Now I start the video. So first of all, I am open simple our topic of the day, not topic of the day, topic of the day page here, in which I am just writing whatever I am completed into part 1 video. Now I am talking about part 2. Okay. So if I want to revise whatever I am completing in part 1, so I am completing about what is the multitasking, what is the meaning of multi-processing, as well as what is the meaning of multi-threading. And second point I'm able to cover in part 1, that is difference between process and threads. What are the differences between process and threads? In detail I am covering in part 1. Then third point that I'm able to cover in that video, that is steps of creating threads in Java. Then whatever number of way of creating threads, means how we're able to create a threads program in Java. Whatever, there are two types of way of creating the multi-threading program. First way, by implementing the runnable interface, and second way by extending the thread class, which is predefined class. So these are the 4 points that I'm able to already cover into part 1 video, that is multi-threading in Java part 1. Okay, so this is the second part, that is a part 2 about multi-threading in Java. I'm writing here again 4 points that I'm not able to cover in part 1. Okay, so let's talk about all these points that I'm able to cover in this particular video. So first point, that is life cycle of thread, means whenever we are creating a thread, so that particular thread is in which state that particular thread are passes, means whatever happening in this the life of a thread from born to death. Understand? As we are human, so we know that whatever state and whatever the times are passing away, or we are able to feel that moment from our born to death. As well as same concept about thread, means when we are creating thread, so at that time when we are creating thread, means the thread is born, and in the depth, in between death and born, what are the moments that are felt by the particular thread is known as the life cycle of a thread. So we are going to understand the concept of life cycle of thread. Then sixth point about thread priority in Java, means if I am able to give some priority to some specific thread, so how we are able to do that. Okay. Then seventh point, that is daemon thread in Java. What is the meaning of the daemon thread? Let's talk about that. Okay, this is a new topic, that is daemon thread. Last topic that is very important, that is the synchronizing in threads. What is the meaning of synchronization? How synchronization works in particular thread. Okay, so these are the 4 important points that I'm able to cover in this particular video. Okay, so now let's start the first point. So okay, now let's get started. Hello. Now start the video. So first I just want to talk about the life cycle of a thread. What is the life cycle of thread? Means what are the happen during the life of a thread when we are creating and when the thread is going to be terminated. Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm simply creating some points, important point into the one note, so you are able to understand. So I'm writing here 5 state, or a 5 5 state, we can say. There are 5 state in which the thread are going or passes during its life. Understand? So let's talk about one by one. First state is new state, second state is active state, third state is about blocked state or let's say waiting state, fourth state is timed waiting state, then fifth state is terminated state. Okay, and I'm going to take a simple image so you are able to understand. From a Java T point I am taking this image, so you are able to understand how this image are uh, by using this image I want to explain that. Understand? So first state is new state. Whenever I am creating a single thread by using a thread class, by using a runnable interface, or by extending a thread class, if I am creating any thread, so whenever I am creating a thread, at that moment of time that particular thread is uh, present into the new state. Understand? You are able to see whenever I am creating a thread, that thread are contained into the new thread. Now let's talk about that. So for the understanding the concept of that, I am just take comes into here and creating a file that is today.js. Let's assume not js. I am very sorry for that. I have to write .java because I am working on js. You see why I have a habit of writing a js now. Okay, so let's assume here I am just creating a public class which contain main method. Here this particular today class extends the thread class. Okay, in main method I am creating a simple class, some simple object of a today class t1, and t is a small, so here also I am creating a t is a small, t1 is equal to new, then today. You are able to see I am simply creating a object of a today class which extend the thread class. So by default this t1 is a become a object of a thread class indirectly. Understand? So if I want to check what is the state of a thread of t1 when I am creating it only, so for that I am just printing a message here, t1 dot get state. Okay, there is a predefined method that is known as a get state. By using that method returns the state of a this thread. Understand? So I just want to run the program and see the output. What is the output? Output here is new. You are able to see if I am zooming this, so you are able to see output here is new. Means when I am just creating a thread and I want to check the what is the state of a thread, then that is the into the new state. Able to understand? Which is I am telling you here. Whenever I am creating a thread, that particular thread at that moment of time, this thread R comes into the new state. That is the first state, that is the new state. Now what is the meaning of active state? After creating a thread, second step is what? Second step is we have to execute that thread by using the start method. Understand? Whenever we are calling start method, so that particular thread are moved from new state to active state. Understand? Whenever we are executing the thread by calling the start method, so that particular thread are moved from new state to active state. So this particular you are able to see image from new state to active state, arrow is down here. So whenever we are calling the start method, so thread R comes from move from new state to active state, and this particular active state contain the two state within it. That is, first one is runnable, second one is running. You are able to see this active state contain the two state within it. First one is runnable state, second one is running state. What is the meaning of that? What happening when I am calling the start method? Understand? So whenever I am calling the start method, behind the scene, for example, I am creating a simple program which contain the two thread T1 and T2. I am just executing, I am calling start method T1 dot start method, then T2 dot start method. Both the thread comes into the active state from new state. Now CPU task is what? CPU task means thread scheduler task is very simple, that schedule the all the thread that are contained by a program. And for using the CPU means sometimes thread C1 thread T1 using the CPU. Again, that particular thread T1 after comes into the row into the queue. Then again thread T2 use sometimes some span of time to use the CPU. Again T1 use the CPU and T2 use the CPU. Whenever a particular thread using the CPU or executing its run method, that state is known as a running state, which is comes into active state. You are able to see running state means getting CPU, means a particular thread schedules all the thread, and one thread or among all the thread are using the CPU or executing its code. That moment of time, that state is known as a running state. And all the thread that are present into a queue that are ready to run, but they are not using the CPU. All the thread that are ready to run, they are stand into a queue and they are rescheduled by the thread scheduler. Understand? They are ready to run, but they are not using the CPU. Is comes into the runnable state. You are able to see waiting for CPU. All the threads that are standing in a queue, they are ready to run, but they are waiting for CPU. They are waiting for its own turn. Whenever my turn is comes, then I am using the CPU. Then that moment of time, that particular thread goes from runnable state to running state. So this is a very more popular state from runnable to running. So all the thread are most time are switching the its state between runnable to running. Now let's again I am open the VS Code for understanding the concept. I am writing here T1 dot start. Okay. Again I want to check its state after calling start method. Okay. Now I want to run the program and see the output. What is the output? You are able to see output here is new and runnable. Means when I am simple creating a thread T1, that time that thread into the new state. Whenever I am calling start method, then that thread goes into the runnable state. Means they are standing in a queue and they are ready to run, but they are not using the CPU. They are waiting the CPU for its own turn. Understand? So this is about all information about active state. How active state are works. What is the importance of active state? Now talking about the third state, that is blocked state or waiting state. What is happening in blocked state or waiting state? These two state. When thread R goes into that thread. So by taking example, I just want to talk about that. Now let's take example. I have a thread A and thread B. Understand? And thread A using the printer for printing some information. Understand? I am saying thread A and thread B. Thread A are using the printer for printing some information, and thread B are also want to use printer. What I am saying, thread A are using the printer for print some information, but thread B is also want to print. What is the place for thread B? Thread B is simply waiting for please whenever thread A completed its task from the whenever the printer is free, I am just going to use the printer. Means thread B is into the waiting state or let's say blocked state. Understand? So this is why this is known as a waiting state or blocked state. Means whenever a thread is waiting for any resources that are used by another thread, that is known as a blocked state. We have to understand this concept very well. How this blocked state or waiting state are works. Whenever any thread are waiting for any resources, that resources are used by any another thread. At that moment of time, that particular thread B, which is waiting for a printer, which is used by thread A. So thread B into the blocked state or a let's say waiting state. Now talking about timed waiting state. There is a little bit difference between blocked state or waiting state into the and the timed waiting state. Now talking about timed waiting state. What is the meaning of timed waiting state? You are able to see timed waiting for timeout notification. Timeout notification occurred. Means let's assume same example, thread A and thread B. Thread A executed some code. Understand? And thread B also want to use some information or also want to the CPU. No. I just want to take another example. Thread T1 and T2. Okay. Thread T1 start its execution means thread T1 goes from runnable state to running state. They are using the CPU, thread T1. And thread T1, whenever I am saying thread T1 are using the CPU, it means thread T1 are running its all the code that are contained by the run method. But let's assume thread T1 R goes into any line of code or line of segment or a section in which they are very hard to leave that section, or there is any type of exception are occurred, so thread T1 cannot able to leave that particular section or block. Understand what I'm saying? Thread T1 are ready to use the CPU, they are into the running state, and this particular thread T1 is goes into a some line of section of code in which they are not able to out of that, they are not able to go out of that. At that moment of time, thread T2 is going into the waiting state, or let's say timed waiting state. So we know that thread T1 cannot able to leave that particular section, that critical section, but thread T2 is waiting for that. Please, in which time my turn is come for using the CPU. At that time, this state is known as a timed waiting state. So thread T2 is, whenever the thread T2 is waiting for use the CPU, that thread T2 into the timed waiting state. Understand? Why thread T2 is waiting is time waiting state? They are waiting for particular resources or particular CPU for executing its run method. Now question is, so what is happening here? Why I am writing timed here? Because thread T2 is not waiting forever. We know that thread T1 cannot able to leave the particular critical section, but thread T2 cannot wait forever. No, we are just by using some method, for example sleep method or any other method, we are putting the thread T2 into the waiting state, timed waiting state by using sleep method. If I'm talking about sleep method, so sleep is a method in which I am passing some amount of time, or let's assume 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds. At that only time the thread T2 is waiting for that. Yes, if in that time if thread T1 is completed its task, then thread T2 is going to be used. If thread T1 is not completed, that if thread T1 cannot able to leave the particular critical section in which they are entered, if they are not able to leave into the particular amount of time in which thread T2 is waiting, that time automatically Java reject or terminate the thread T1, which is going to be like they are entered into critical section, they are not able to leave that. So thread T1 are terminated by the Java and thread T2 are going to use that resources. So by using the particular method, only that amount of time thread T2 is waiting for that. So there is a difference between the waiting state and the timed waiting state. In waiting state or a blocked state, there is no time are predefined for waiting for common resources. But in time waiting state, we are able to provide some amount of time. If in this amount of time this particular resources are free, then okay, I'm going to use. If not free, then forcefully Java terminate the particular thread that are using that common resources, and this thread are going to use after finishing that amount of time. Understand? So this is the concept about timed waiting state. You are able to understand all state, that is what is the meaning of new state, what is the meaning of active state, what is the meaning of runnable and running, then blocked state, waiting state, as well as timed waiting state. Means difference between waiting and time waiting. In waiting state, there is no timing are provided by our side to let me after this time we are able to execute its code. But in timed waiting, we are providing some amount of time. Only in this time I am waiting for this using the common resources. Now last state, that is a terminated state. What is the meaning of terminated state? Means terminating state are comes into the life of thread into two ways only. First way is whenever a thread it completes its all the codes, means finishes its task, after that thread is going to be into the terminated state. Means after terminating state, the thread are going to be dead. Understand? One point here is whenever a thread going from active state or from active state to terminated state, so that moment of time, then again that particular thread are not able to come from terminated to any other thread. Terminated means they are going to be died. Understand? So any thread going into terminated state, only two reasons. First reason is they are finishes their all the task, all the line of code they are able to execute. Second, if any thread going into a critical section or any abnormal unhandled exception are occurred into any thread, so that time Java forcefully terminate that particular thread. Okay, only two reasons why thread are going into the terminated state. So this is the life cycle of a thread. What is the happening into life of a thread? First state is new state, whenever we are creating a thread. Second state is active state, in which all the thread is standing in a queue and they are ready to run. They are ready to use the CPU. Okay, that is known as a runnable state. And from runnable state, thread are going into the running state, getting the CPU, again comes into runnable, then again into running. They are what? They are switching their position state between them. Then if any common resources are used, so for someone, so that another thread are waiting for that. And then if all the timing are completed, I mean all the tasks are completed, though automatically that particular thread are terminated by the Java. If any thread goes into the what? Into critical section or unhandled exception are occurred, so forcefully Java terminate that particular thread. So this all information about the threads in Java, how all the threads, or what is the life cycle of thread, means what is the meaning of new state, what is the meaning of active state, what is the meaning of blocked state, and what is the meaning of timed waiting as well as terminated state. Understand? So this all information about the first point, that is the life cycle of a thread. Now let's talk about another three remaining points of the video. Now let's talk about hello. Now let's talk about the sixth point of the video, that is thread priority in Java. What is the meaning of thread priority? You know that what is the meaning of thread? Thread is nothing but a part of a program. In a single program, we are able to create multiple thread. You know that. Okay. So what is the meaning of thread priority? By default, Java gives the same priority value to all the thread. This is why the all thread are run simultaneously within a program. This is the definition of a multi-threading, means threads are running in a program simultaneously. This is known as a multi-threading concept. So by default, the priority given by the Java to each and every thread is the same. If I want to give the more priority as to one thread as compared to second thread, so how we are able to do that? Means if I want to give thread T1 more priority as compared to thread T2, so thread T1 are able to use the CPU, or we can say the turn of using the CPU are comes more as compared to T2 thread. That is why I am going to use, for setting that purpose, for setting the thread priority value of T1 more than T2. For that purpose of requirement of a program, we have to use the concept of thread priority. Means if I want to give some thread more priority as compared to other threads, so we have to use this particular concept about thread. Means I have to give from user side, the user side what? The priority value to thread T1 as well as thread T2. So let's talk about the concept of thread priority in Java. So I'm just writing some important point about that. So I'm jump on it. Now you are able to see I'm just writing here some important point about thread priority. So first point I'm writing here, each thread has a priority. You know that. Means whenever I'm creating a program in which I'm creating multiple thread, let's assume T1, T2 and T3. Each thread have a some by default priority, and that priority is completely same. For example, I'm writing here priority are represented by a number between 1 and 10. You are able to see. Means by default we are only able to give the priority value to all the thread by using a number from 1 to 10 only. Within 1 to 10 I'm not able to use other numbers for giving the priority value. Understand? Now let's talk about example. I'm creating a single program in which thread T1, T2 and T3 are created, and thread T1 my requirement is I want to run thread T1 is more faster as compared to T2 and T3. So we are able to my requirement? My requirement is to give the value priority value T1 is more than T2 and T3. For that, I am using the concept of thread priority and giving the more thread priority value to T1 as compared to T2 and T3. Understand? So important point is by default all the priority have a same value. First point. Second point is we are only able to give the priority value to each thread by within a number, that is by using a number between 1 to 10. And the third point about that sub point is thread scheduler schedule the threads according to their priority. We have to understand, means the task of thread scheduler is what? The task of thread scheduler to schedule the threads. So in a sequence, in a queue, task of thread scheduler to schedule the threads for using the CPU. Understand? This is why thread scheduler gives more priority. Whatever I'm writing here, thread scheduler schedule the thread according to their priority. Understand? Means according to the priority, whatever priority we are assigned to each thread, according to that, thread scheduler schedule the using the CPU of particular thread. Second point, the main thread priority is set to by default 5. What is the meaning of main thread? I'm talking about in the fifth point about main thread. Main thread is nothing but a main method. Whenever we are running the program, what is happening there at that moment of time? Whenever we are running our main method, means main method is nothing but a main thread. All the thread whatever we are creating in our program, that is comes into the main thread. So all the thread is known as a child thread of a main thread. Understand? So by default the thread priority value are by default of main thread is 5, and each child thread will be have the same priority as its parent thread. This is the done from the Java side. Means by default the main thread have a same priority value, means 5 by default, and each child thread, means whatever your user defined thread we are creating within a program are have a same priority value as compared to parent thread, that is main thread. We have to ability to adjust the priority of any thread, whether it is a main thread or a user defined thread. Means we are able to assign the value priority value as well as not only for user thread as well as main thread also, whether it is a main thread or user defined thread. It is advised to adjust the priority using the thread class constant, which are follow. Means there are three constant value are provided by the thread class. You know that I'm already covering the all information about thread class. Understand? So thread class provide us three constant value. First is min priority, min underscore priority. Second is norm underscore priority, and third one is max underscore priority. So min underscore priority is by default its value is 1, and max underscore priority its value is 5, and max underscore priority's value is 10. So this is the value that are provided by the Java. Means if I want to give the minimum priority to any thread, so I have to use this particular constant, that is min priority. If I want to give the normal priority or default priority, that is norm priority value constant. Then third constant is max priority, its value is highest priority value, that is 10. Now there are two methods that are provided by the thread class. By using these two methods we are able to set the priority value of for any thread, as well as we are able to get what is the priority of particular thread. So getter and setter method provided by the Java, that is known as a get priority method as well as set priority method. So this is information, basic information about thread priority. Let's talk about, I am just writing a single program, so you are able to understand how this constant are works and what is the working of these two methods. So let's jump on the VS Code. Okay, I am just open our VS Code here, and I am creating a simple program, simple file that is known as a thread part2 .java. Okay, I'm simply creating a class that is you are able to see now. Okay, That is what? That is public class thread part2, in which I am just creating public static void main method here. And now this particular thread part2 class extend the thread class. Okay, you know that we are able to create multi-threading program by using two ways. First way is by implementing the runnable interface, and second way is by extending the thread class. So I am just creating this particular example of a multi-threading program by extending the thread class. Understand? In which I am creating simple main method. Now I am creating the object of a thread part2 class. Okay, so by using the object we are able to create the thread t1. Okay, thread part2. Again I am creating the thread part2 object t2 is equal to new, then thread part2. Okay, you are able to see in main method I am just creating two thread t1 and t2 of this particular thread part2 class. Now I want to talk about what is the by default value that are assigned to these two thread. So I just want to print it. I'm writing a t1 dot get priority method. Okay, and again I want to write here t2 dot get priority method. Okay, you are able to see I am simple writing here t1 dot get priority method, then t2 dot get priority method. I want to run the program and see the output. What is the output of the program? You are able to see 5 and 5 means by default value of priority value of thread t1 is 5, and by default the priority value of t2 is 5. You are able to see how what is the value of by default value priority value that are provided by the Java. Now whenever I am discussing about the main thread, so by default main thread have a priority, it's 5. Let's talk about that. I'm just writing here what? Thread 1 okay, so you are able to understand the differences, and here I am writing thread to part thread 2. Okay, and then like this. Now I'm writing here I just want to know about the what is the current thread, means what is the priority value of main thread. Okay, so I just want to print here main thread. I'm writing here like thread that is the class name of thread, and then current thread method, and then what I just want to talk about get priority method. Okay, so I'm writing here thread dot current thread, and then by using get priority method we are able to know about what is the current thread, means what is the priority value of particular main thread. Now let's run the program and see the output. You're able to see the output. Thread 1 priority value is 5, and thread 2 priority value is 5, and thread main thread is also priority value is 5. Means by default the main thread priority value is 5, as well as all the thread whatever we are creating within a program has a same priority value as its parent thread, that is the main thread. Now by using the two methods getter and setter, I want to assign the value to all these three thread. Okay, so for that I'm just want to comes here. I'm writing here some line like, guess what, I'm just writing t1 dot set priority, and writing here like by using the constant that is thread dot max priority. Okay, t2 dot set priority, that is thread dot norm priority. Then I want to giving the value thread priority value I want to assign to what, to the what I just want to assign to value main thread also. So for that I have to write thread dot current thread, then dot set priority value. Okay, I'm writing here min priority value. Okay, and now I have to write here some you are able to understand. So before, and then copy all these four lines which is I want to print again after setting the value by using these two by using these three lines, that is t1 dot set priority, t2 dot set priority, and then thread dot current thread method, then by using the set priority method. Okay, I am writing here after. You know that what is the value of max priority, that is the 10, what is the value of norm priority, that is the 5, and what is the value of set priority, that is min priority, that is 1. So now I just want to run the program and see the output. Now I am do it up so you are able to understand. Before, thread 1 priority is 5, thread 2 priority is 5, and main thread also have priority is 5. After, thread 1 priority is 10. Why? Because I am using the max thread max value, max priority constant. Then thread 2 have a norm priority, that is the 5, and main thread has a 1 priority value, that is a minimum priority value. So by using these three constant, we are able to give the max priority value, norm priority value, and the min priority value. Understand? Let's assume if I want to give the priority value like 7. I run the program and see the output. Let's see it is works or not. Yes, it is works. We are able to see, we are able to assign the priority value from our side between 1 to 10 if you did not want to use the constant value. Okay, so you are able to just pass in the integer priority value. Okay, so how the priority in thread R works. So in this particular example, thread T1 I am setting the maximum priority, and thread T2 has a norm priority. So thread T1 are execute more times as compared to thread T2. So this all information about multi-threading means this is all information about what? Thread priority in Java. Understand? Now I am here. Thread priority in Java. What is the meaning of thread priority? How I am able to assign the thread priority value to each and every thread within a program. Understand? Now let's talk about the 7th point, that is Daemon Thread in Java. Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm just open our 7th point page, in which I'm writing some important point about the Daemon Thread in Java. You know that Daemon Thread is nothing but a new topic, new types of thread in Java. Okay, so I want to read it line so you are able to understand the concept of Daemon Thread in depth. Daemon Thread in Java is a service provider thread that provides services to user thread. You know that in a single program, whatever we are creating a thread, that is known as a user thread. Okay, Daemon Thread is also maybe a user thread or maybe a main thread. You know that main thread is always a Daemon thread. Because why? Because main thread is always provides services to the all user thread. Is the same concept here. Means Daemon Thread is a thread. It may be a user defined or it may be a predefined. Means a Daemon Thread is a thread which provide the services to all user thread. Understand? So we have to understand Daemon thread is looks like a supporter to all the thread. Means, for example, I am creating a simple program in which I am creating 5 thread: T1, T2, T3, T4, and T5. Now I want to assign T5 thread as a Daemon thread. So T5 thread is taking care of all the 4 thread: T1, T2, T3, T4. Understand this? So this is the concept of Daemon thread. Daemon thread is nothing but a thread which provide the services, which taking care of all the its child thread or not a child thread of a user thread. Means whatever thread are present into that particular program. Now its life depends on the mercy of user thread. When all the user thread are dies, JVM terminates this particular thread automatically. Means, for example, in this particular example in which I am creating 5 thread, so T5 thread is a Daemon thread which taking care of all the 4 thread. Whenever all these 4 thread are completely runs and these 4 thread are dies, then JVM, Java Virtual Machine, automatically terminates this particular Daemon thread also. Means Daemon thread is a thread which provide services to all the thread, and that Daemon thread is terminates after terminating all the thread that are present into this particular program. Understand? So this is a concept about Daemon thread. There are Java Daemon thread running. There are many Java daemon threads are running automatically, example finalizer and etc. Okay, as well as garbage collector. You know that. What is the meaning of garbage collector? I'm already created about the video about that. Okay, now let's talk about the some important point, that is it provides the services to user thread for background supporting tasks. Understand, for background supporting tasks, this particular um, daemon thread are provide the services. It has no role in life than to serve user thread. Means daemon thread has only one purpose, to providing the services to all the thread. Okay, means daemon thread in his life only one purpose, that is to providing the services in all the thread that are present into the particular program. And second point is its life depend on the user thread. Means until user defined thread are running, at that moment of time the daemon thread are present. Whenever the all the user thread are terminating, automatically JVM terminates the daemon thread. Now it is a low priority thread. Why low priority? You know that if I am giving the low priority value to any thread, so that particular thread are execute in last. Means that particular thread value are execute very less moment of time. Means the less the low priority thread are getting the CPU for executing itself very less as compared to others. This is why the daemon thread has a less priority thread. So these are two methods. Okay, first method is of the daemon thread, that is the set daemon. Means if I want to set any thread, or maybe user defined or maybe a predefined as a daemon thread, so by using set daemon method I am providing a as an argument boolean type value status, that is true or false. If I want to create any thread as a daemon thread, so I have to use this particular set daemon method. And then second method is for checking the particular thread, is this particular thread is daemon thread or not. So for that I'm just using a is daemon method. Okay, so let's jump into VS Code to understand the concept of daemon thread by using the VS Code, by using the example. Okay, so now I'm just deleting all that what I'm writing into particular thread priority example. Okay, again I'm creating a class, public class, not simple class, public class thread thread part 2. Understand, which is the file name of our particular in VS Code. Now I'm just creating public static void bin method. Before it, this particular class extends the thread class. So I'm creating a multi-threading program by extending the thread class. Okay, and here I'm just creating main method, and in this particular thread part 2 class, you know that I'm extending the thread class, so my responsibility to override the run method. So I'm just simple write public void run. Understand, and here I'm just checking one thing, that is what, that is if thread is what, I'm just checking what, I'm just checking here this particular thread is daemon or not. Is there an error? What is error? I just want to know about that. Okay, so let's see the error. I am not writing directly is thread, I am just writing thread dot current thread. Means what is the current thread are using the particular run method. You know that when I'm creating a multiple thread and running all the thread at the same time, so all the thread are using the particular run method or executing its run method simultaneously. So in the current thread, means whenever any thread are executing its run method at that moment of time, so I'm just talking about current thread, means whatever thread are executing its run method at that time, that particular thread is daemon thread or not. If this particular thread is daemon thread, so I'm just printing here this is a daemon thread. Understand, if it is not, then I just want to print here not daemon thread. Okay, now you are able to see I'm simple creating a run method. I'm checking the condition, if this particular current thread that are using the or executing the run method is the daemon thread or not by using the is daemon method. If it is yes, then I'm just printing the message yes, this is a daemon method. If it is not, then I'm just printing the message this is not a daemon thread. In main method, what I'm writing here, I'm just simple creating the thread by using the thread part2 class. T1 is equal to new thread part2. I'm just copy paste all this particular line and 3 times. Why? Because I'm creating the thread T2 as well as T. Now you are able to see in main method I'm just simple creating a 3 thread T1, T2 and T3. Now here I'm just want to do what? I am writing a T1 dot start, T2 dot start and then T3 dot start. Okay, so I'm just simple creating a thread T1, T2, T3 and then start by using start method. I'm just executing all the thread at the same time. Now let's run the program and see the output. Output is not a daemon thread, not a daemon thread, not a daemon thread. Means there is a no thread is working as a daemon thread. So if I want to put any thread as a daemon thread, so I have to use a one method, that is set daemon method. So I'm just writing here T1 dot set daemon, right, providing here a boolean value that is true. So here T1 is a daemon thread. By using the set daemon method, I'm providing a true as an argument. So now T1 become the daemon thread, means this T1 thread are providing the services the remaining thread, that is T2 and T3. Okay, and this T1 thread are terminate in the last after terminating T2 and T3 thread. Now let's run the program and see the output. What is the output? Output here is this is the daemon thread, then not a daemon thread and not a daemon thread. If I want to take about one thing, that is what I'm just writing here, I'm writing here this, I'm simple writing here like, guess what, I'm writing here thread dot current thread then get name. By using get name, I'm able to get the name of a particular thread. Understand? So by using this concept, I'm able to do one thing here, that is I'm able to know about this particular thread, what is the name of a thread that are going to use the run method. So I'm just running the program again. You are able to see thread T2 is not a daemon thread, thread 1 is not a daemon thread, thread 0 is a daemon thread. You are able to see here the numbering of a thread starts from 0, 1, 2. So you know that T1 thread is a thread 0, T2 thread is known as a thread T2 thread 1 and T3 thread is known as a thread 2. So I am assigning T1 thread as a daemon thread which is executed into the last. This is why this particular line are executing into the last. Why last? After terminating thread all the user thread, Java virtual machine automatically terminates the daemon thread. In this example, thread 0 is a daemon thread. This is why this particular thread, thread 0 or daemon thread are executing into the last. And you are able to see in message thread 0 is a daemon thread. So this is a simple example and very important example about the understanding the concept of daemon thread, how daemon thread are works. By using these two methods, by using set daemon method, by using a is daemon method, we are able to know about this particular thread is daemon thread or not. Understand? Now let's talk about the other points of a particular program. Okay, so this daemon thread points are clear. Now I'm talking about the synchronization in threads. What is the meaning of synchronization? Let's talk about. Now let's talk about the synchronization in thread. So before understanding the concept of synchronization in Java, I just want to talk about I am just taking example. By using that example, you are able to understand what is the necessity, what is the need of understanding the concept of synchronization in Java. Understand? So let's jump on the VS Code, not VS Code. I'm not going to use VS Code in this particular example. I'm just using the command prompt as for running the program as well as notepad for writing the program. Okay, so I'm just open our notepad here. I'm just creating thread2.java file here, and in which I'm creating a class that is known as a table class. Okay, this particular class contain a method public void print table, and that method contain a variable that is n, and in method I just want to print the by using a loop. I want to print a table of a number, whatever number are provided by the into the particular print table method. So for int I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. Okay, then here I just want to print it. What I want to print, I'm just writing system dot out dot print ln, and I'm here writing here thread dot current thread, then get name. Understand? Then I'm writing here n into I. Understand? So by using this particular print table method, I'm just uh, printing the table by using this particular for loop, not till 5, till 10. I just want to print it. Okay. Again, I am creating another class, that is class A, in which I am just creating the reference variable of particular table class. Understand? I'm writing here table T1 like. Okay. Then I'm creating a constructor of a class A, and that constructor contain a reference variable, take a object, contain an object of table class, and I'm just copy paste that by using this dot t1 is equal to t1. Okay, by using this particular line I am able to put the object of a reference of a particular object that are contained by the constructor of a class A into the reference variable of table t1. And then this particular class A, important point that I am missing here, this particular class A are extend the thread class. Understand? So I am just creating a main, not a main, run method. In run method, what I'm doing, I'm just simple writing here t1 dot print table. I want to print the table of 5, not 5. I want to print table of 8. Let's assume whatever writing until now you are able to understand. I'm simply creating a class table that contain a print table method, in which I'm just simple printing the table of a name, table of a particular value number, and I also want to print the what is the name of a particular thread that I calling the print table method. And then class, I'm creating class A which extend the thread class, and creating a reference variable of a table class t1, and by using a constructor I want to give the reference of a object of a table class. Then by using a run method, I am simple calling a print table method of a table class and passing a argument as a 8. Means if I am running the program, so output is what? Output is printing the table of a 8. 8 1 ja 8, 8 2 ja 16 till 10th only. Now again I want to create a class B. It may be a little bit bigger program, but this is very important. Extends thread, and I just want to copy paste all the code that I am writing class A into class B here. Okay, and I just want to give the t2 like here, and here t2, then this dot t2 is equal to t2, means I'm writing a same concept t2 dot print table, and I'm writing here like 100. Understand? Means I am creating class B which extend the thread class and creating a reference variable t2, and then again constructor of a class B. I am assigning the reference of a object into a t2 reference variable, then calling a run method, in which method I am just calling a method of a table class that is print table and passing the number as an argument that is 100. Means when I'm running the class A thread, so table of 8 are printed. When I'm calling the class B thread, our table of 100 are printed. But important point here is, whenever I'm running the both the thread simultaneously, you know that thread T1 as well as thread T2, both the thread are running simultaneously. So let's talk about that. I'm coming here, I'm just simple creating a main method public, okay, public class thread 2 which contain a main method public static void main string args. Okay, now in this particular main method, what I'm doing, I'm simple creating the object of a table class first. Table t is equal to new, then table. Then I'm creating a object of a class a. I'm just which is what, which is the thread t1. Okay, so t1 thread new and class a, and I'm passing here the object of a table class during creation of a object of a class a thread. Then t2 is equal to new, then b, and then also I'm passing t2. T is a table name. What till now, if you are have any doubt, so I'm again want to repeat after writing all the line. Then t1 dot start, t2 dot start. Okay, now you have to understand what I'm doing till now. I'm simply calling the table, I'm just simply creating the object of a table class in main method. Then I'm creating the object of a class a, that is a t1 thread, and passing as an argument of a object of a table class, same as into the object of a class b, which is creating the thread t2. Then I'm calling the start method of both the thread t1 thread as well as the t2 thread. Now you are able to again overall I just want to repeat, class table contain the printable method which print the table of a particular number, as well as which thread are calling the particular printable method. The name of a thread is also printed by using this particular line. Class a contain a run method which printing the table of 8, class b which is a thread class child class and printing the table of 100, and then particular thread 2 class contain a main method, and I'm creating a two thread t1 and t2 and calling the start method. Now I'm just doing this like this and open our command line. In this line here I'm just writing here java c, then file name, that is a thread2.java. We're able to see there is an error that I'm not expected, that is where that is in class during class A there is an error, it is shown as. But let's talk about that. Class A thread extend thread table t2 and this thread. I'm just looking here, I'm not know what is the error here. I just want to talk about that main method class A. Let's say again I want to read the error. Thread2.java error at 11 that is expected class extends. Extend or extends, it's I think it extends. Extend, I have to write here extend, not extends. Okay, I am just writing a syntaxical error. Now again I just want to compile the program. Oh my god, I have to use the, I'm very sorry about that, I have to use extends keyword, not extend keyword for inheriting concept. Understand? Again I just want to make a clear, if I clear is not running here. So again I want to open this particular file so you are able to understand what is happening here. Okay, I'm just writing cmd and open it completely here. Now I'm just writing java c, then thread2.java. I want to compile program first. So you are able to see program are compiled successfully. If I want to run the program java thread 2, you are able to see output is here. Again thread 1 print the 100, means you know that thread 0 is a t1 thread, thread 1 is a t2 thread. By using thread 0, if I'm open our VS code, you are able to see thread 1 t1 is a thread 0 known as a thread 0 and t2 is known as a thread 1. Okay, by using thread t1 I am printing the table of 8, by using a thread t2 I am printing the table of 100. Again you are able to hear thread 1 which is a thread t2 print the table of 100 and thread 0 print the table of 8. Then 100, 200, 300, 400 and then 8, 16, 24 means you are able to see both the thread T1 as well as T2 are executing simultaneously. If I want to print the table of 100, means of a table T1, of a thread T1 first, then thread T2, or a first T1 then T2, or T2 first and then T1 first second. So I am not able to do that. Why? Because we know that whenever I am executing the multi-threading program, so all the threads that are contained by a class or are contained by a program are execute simultaneously. This is why this messy output R comes whenever I am printing the table of a 8 as well as the 100 at the same time by using the thread T1 of a class A and thread T2 of a class B. If I want to again compile, again run the program, so again the same output. If I again want to compile the program and then run, then let's see the output. Output here is in this time first 8 come, then 100, then 16, then 24, then 200, then 32, 40, then 300, then 48, 5, 400, 500, then 56, 64, then means there is a very mess output R comes. Understand? So for solving this particular problem, if I want to solve this particular problem, how I am able to solve the problem? So whenever I want to print the table, so I am able to, when I want to print the table, so only thread T1 are first print all the shared data, then thread T2 are print all the table. Means one time table of 8 are printed and second time table of 100 are printed whenever I am just running both the thread at the same time. How it is going to be done? You are able to see in the example very important point. Table is a resource that are used by thread T1 as well as T2. Where it is used? I am just passing the object of a table class into the constructor of a thread T1 and constructor of a thread T2. Means both the thread T1 as well as T2 are using the same common resources. Understand? You have to understand very well this concept. Thread T1 as well as thread T2 are both the thread are using the concept of using the resource common resources, which is a table object. I am creating a single object of a table class, and this particular object of a table class common single resources are used by both the thread. Understand? Whenever two threads are using the same common resource set at the same time, at that moment of time, this particular type of problem are occurred. Why? We know that table of object is one, means there is only one common resources that are used by both the thread. So sometime thread T1 are used that particular resources, and sometime thread T2 are use that particular resources, and again thread T1 started using the resources and T2 again started using their particular resources. But if they are using common resources, so there is a problem of this particular type of output. There is a problem of data corruption or a missed output of outcomes, like this example. Understand? Means whenever I want to use the common resources or share resources between two or multiple thread, so this is a problem are occurred. For solving this problem, synchronization comes into the picture, into multi-threading program. How? By using synchronization, we are able to understand. How we are able to solve the problem. Means what is the problem? Whenever multiple threads are using the common resources, so that time there is a chances of data corruption. There is a chances of what? Messy type of output comes like this output. There is no person can able to identify that particular table are what 8 or 16. They are very confused. Sometimes table of 8 are printed and then sometimes table of 100 are printed because they are using the common resources, that is a table class object. Understand? So we have to understand very well how it is works. Now let's talk about some important point that I am writing here. So now I think you are able to understand till now what is the requirement of a what is the requirement of a synchronization in Java. What is the problem till now if I'm not using the concept of synchronization? Problem is whenever multiple threading are using the common resources, so there is a chances of data corruption or messy type of output outcomes which is not useful. Understand? In terms of what? In terms of using the common resources. For example, I'm just taking this another example. Now I'm simple creating two programs, two files, two text file. I want to print that at the same time, let's assume, at different pages, not different but a single pages. But understand, I am printing two text files. First text file contain the result or a mark sheet of a class 10th, and second text file contain the result or a mark sheet of a class 12. Very important. I am just want to print two file at the same time for understanding the concept of a multi synchronization. Class 10th mark sheet are contained by file 1 and class 12th mark sheet are contained by file 2. I am executing both at the same time. What is happening? In a single page, half of the page, or not half, or 25% class 10th mark sheet are printed, and then another 25% class 12th result are printed. Then again 50% or 75% or 25% class 10th mark sheet result are printed. So there is a very data corruption. Means we are not able to get the result of a class 10 at a one page, and then another page the result of a class 12. Understand? Whenever we are using a common resources, because file 1 file 2 are using the single common resources in this example, that is the printer. At the same time they are try to use at the same time simultaneously. So there is a problem. Understand? Now let's read the point I am writing here. Synchronization in Java is the capability to control the access of multiple threads to any shared resources. Access of multiple threads to any shared resources means here by using a synchronization we are able to provide the control. What type of control? Control about what? Control about accessing the multiple thread to any shared resources or common resources. In the multi-threading concept, multiple threads try to access the shared resources at a time to produce inconsistent result. You are able to see what is the meaning of inconsistent result. Means they are not providing the consistent result. They are not providing a good result. They are providing a messy result, or data corruption happen, in which if both the or multiple thread are try to access the common resources at the same time. So in a multi-threading program, multiple threads try to access the shared resources at the same time to produce an inconsistent result. The synchronization is necessary for reliable communication between threads. Means by using the synchronization in thread, by using the concept of synchronization. Understand? First of all, we have to understand the meaning of synchronization and meaning of asynchronization before proceeding. Understand? So what is the meaning of synchronization? Before understanding the concept of unsynchronization, whenever I am executing multiple thread program, so all the threads are executing in Java in a multi-threading program in asynchronously. What is the meaning of asynchronously? Means parallel. Means thread T1, T2, T3, T4. All four threads are executing in parallel. Sometimes T1 execute, then T2, then T4, then T1, T2, T3, and T4. In this concept, means in a parallel wise, all the threads are executing. This is known as a concept of a asynchronous. Means multi-threading program, all the multiple threads are executing its code by using the CPU at a parallel or let's say asynchronously. But what is the meaning of synchronization? Synchronization means in serial. Means sometimes, not sometimes, the T1 thread are all the code of T1 thread are execute. After that only T2 thread all the code are execute. Then T3 thread are execute its all the thread, and T4 thread are execute its all the code. Means T1, T2, T3 and T4 thread are executing in sequence wise. First T1 are execute it all the codes, then T2 are execute it all the code, then T3 are executes its all the code, then T4 thread are execute its all the code. Means if I'm talking about synchronously, so I want to execute the thread in sequence wise, first, second, third. If by default multi-threading, all the threads are executing asynchronously, means in parallel. Understand? Now why we are using synchronization? So synchronization helps in preventing the thread inference. Means what is the problem? That is the type of war are done between the two thread in terms of using the common resources that are stopped or that are preventing by using the concept of synchronization. By using synchronization, all the threads are executing serial wise, not a simultaneously, not a parallel or not a asynchronously. Synchronization helps to prevent the concurrency problems. Understand? Now, there are some important points. Synchronization block means how we are able to use the concept of synchronization. So we are able to execute all the thread in sequence manner. Understand? So I have to provide sequence block. What is the meaning of sequence block? Sequence block is look like a method. Means whatever common resources I am using between two thread or multiple thread. So I'm just using a synchronization block in common resources or shared resources. After writing this particular synchronization block, so this particular block that contain the common line of code that contain the common resources. If one thread are try to access this particular common resources, so this thread have a responsibility to execute all the code that are contained by this particular synchronization block. After that, this thread are going to out of the execution. Then thread T2 are comes, then it start its execution of that contained by the synchronization block and execute its all the code that are contained by this particular synchronization block. Then only then thread T2 are again out of the execution. Then thread T3 are enter, and then it's execute all the code that are contained by this particular synchronization block. Means synchronization block is nothing but a looks like a method that are present into a method. Understand? Synchronization is not a method. It looks like a method, but it is present into a method and it contain the common resources. That particular common resources are execute by a thread if any thread are enter into the synchronization block. So after executing all the line of code that are contained by the synchronization block, only then this particular thread comes out of the block. Understand? So this is the concept of synchronization block. Let's read all the points. Synchronized block is used to lock an object for any common resources. Same what I'm explaining till now. Means by using a synchronization block, we are able to lock. We are able to provide a type of a locking. Yes, if this particular thread comes into the block, enter into the executing the common resources that are contained by synchronization block. So this thread is not able to go outside after executing all the line of code that are contained by synchronization block. Only then this thread are going from the particular block. So synchronized block is used to lock an object for any shared resources. Scope of synchronization block is smaller than a method. Means we have to write synchronization block in where? We have to write synchronization block into a method. A Java synchronized block does not allow more than a JVM to provide access control to a shared resources. The system performance may degrade because of the slower working of synchronization keyword. Why? Because thread T1, T2, T3 or all the thread are executing in sequence wise. This is why the performance of a performance of a system are maybe low. If all the thread are executing simultaneously, at that time performance will high, we know that. But I just want to use the common resources in sequence wise, not a parallel wise. This is why the performance of a system is going to be degrade. Last point, that is Java synchronization block is more efficient than Java synchronization method. Understand? Now what is the syntax of creating a synchronization block? So we have to write here synchronization, synchronized keyword. Then I am just creating a I'm just creating a method like looks like a method. I'm passing the object of a reference expression, then curly bracket and writing the common block. Same I'm not writing here what shared code block means what is shared code, what is the common code between the thread. I just want to write into the particular synchronization block. So now by using this syntax we are able to prevent the data corruption, data inconsistent. What is the problem that are contained by the asynchronous execution of a thread are clear. Understand? So let's again, I just want to open our notepad here. we know that class table is a common resources. Okay, my requirement is if any thread comes into the print table method, then that particular thread are only going to out of the printable method after executing all the line of code that are contained by printable method. So I'm writing here what synchronized keyword, and then I'm writing the object, whatever object are comes in currently, and I'm writing the curly brackets for creating the block. Okay, and I'm just writing here, it's maybe for formatting purpose, so you are able to understand without any confusion. Okay, so now you are able to understand. I'm just writing synchronized, and then by using this keyword I'm refer to the current object. Then this is a block, this is a block, means this line of code that are contained by the synchronization block R is a common resources, means whenever thread T1 R comes into this particular block, then T1 execute all three lines that are contained by this particular three uh, this particular print table are after executing all three lines, only then this thread T1 R go outside, then thread T2 R comes, then it prints all the data, then it goes outside. So by using this synchronized block we are able to provide the execution of a thread sequence wise, not a parallel wise. Okay, I'm not going to any changes, make changes. I'm just writing synchronized block into common resources and save the program. Comes into the into what, into the command prompt. Again I'm writing compile the program first, successfully compiled, and I want to run the program. You are able to see the output now. Output here is first table of 8 are printed, then table of 100 are printed, means thread 0 means thread first T1 thread are execute first, after only means thread T1 are comes into synchronized block, then it execute all the line of code, then again second types thread are comes into the into particular block, and then it's print. Means if you are able to see this output where I'm not going to use synchronization block, so this is a very mess output where all the thread are using the common resources parallel. Sometimes thread over T1 used, then sometimes thread T2 used, but after writing the synchronization block all the thread are executing in sequence wise. This is reason why thread T1 after executing it all the code of thread T1, then another thread are comes into the synchronization block, and then all the code of a block are used or executed by the thread T2. Understand? So this is the concept of multi-threading program, how we are able to execute all the thread into the sequence wise, into the synchronous wise. Understand? By default all the thread are executed into the asynchronously. Understand? So this all information about the asynchronous in Java. Synchronous in Java. What is the meaning of synchronization thread? Understand? I think your all concept about synchronization in thread are completed. I'm already talking about the life cycle of a thread, then thread priority in Java, then Daemon Thread in Java, and the last point is synchronizing in thread. I think you'll all types of doubt, and whatever doubts are comes into till now, please comment. I just want to reply whatever you doubt. I think there is no doubt are comes after watching that video very well. Okay, now you are able to see what is the important point are remaining. I'm completed till now. Understand? So if you have any doubt till now, so my small request is to you, please rewind the video and again watch the video. Whatever I am telling is you have to listen very carefully, so there is no doubt are remaining in your mind in concept in terms of these 4 points that is comes into the part 2 multi-threading YouTube video. Understand? So thanks for watching this video and see you in next one.